Welcome back to another video where we cover the Internet Computer Protocol and the journey of ICP ending it. Dfinity implemented a proposal recently that we covered in a video, and we're going to be covering what that proposal is, why they wanted to implement this proposal, and why Dfinity just ended this program in the Internet Computer ecosystem. We're also going to be discussing whether I think that the proposal implementation is going to be bullish or bearish for this crypto asset and kind of where I stand on the internet computer ecosystem. As always, this is the Cryptoviser podcast. We talk about everything crypto, blockchain, and investing every single day right here on the channel. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Give the video a free thumbs up because ICP is not free, but thumbs up are always free. So let's kind of get it right into it. This was about the Internet Computer Neurons Fund, an motion to basically end the Neurons Fund. So the Dfinity team said just recently that they have a few ideas for longer term improvements, but as they would take longer to discuss and implement, Dfinity, the founder and development company behind Internet Computer, is proposing to start with this and discuss further improvements in the future. And basically, Dfinity proposes to pause what they call the Neurons Fund. This would prevent the creation of SNS proposals requesting a Neurons Fund contribution, but still enable the SNS launches without the Neuron Fund. The problem here is that the idea of match funding algorithm was to take the swap activity as one signal of how popular and promising a project is and adjust the Neurons Fund contribution accordingly. One downside is that dApp owners can participate in the swap with their own tokens and thereby make their project look more valuable than it is. It's basically going in there and basically voting for their own app, right? Therefore, the community raised concerns about the current Neuron Fund's matching funding design, as this may result in a loss of trust in the SNS framework that Dfinity thinks it's important to take this action now. Now we have the results of this vote, and we're going to be going over that right now. So in the actual proposal itself, called Pausing the Neurons Fund, you can see that voting is now completed with an overwhelming 75% of participants, and the voting power being 295 million ICP tokens, voting yes to implement Pausing the Neurons Fund. 24% were undecided in the vote, and a very negligible amount of voting power voted no. So you can see basically, good participation, you would say, I would say, good participation on this, but not a lot of participation on the no end. So either one, the developers believe that pausing the Neurons Fund is the most important thing right now, and everyday users just really didn't vote on this, or it was just a rigged vote. And so to understand a little bit more about how the voting actually went, because in my previous video, we didn't see any of the big players voting yet, right? We didn't see Dfinity vote. We didn't see the ICP developers vote. We didn't see some of the whales voting. And the one cool thing about Internet Computer voting is it's all transparent. Other ecosystems, and one we're not going to talk about on this video, but Cardano specifically, their voting that they were doing during the last few years since the last bull run effectively, called Project Catalyst. This was a funding mechanism for the ecosystem. And there was no transparency into the voting, right? So an ecosystem that claims it's decentralized and fully public and everything's on chain would have these votes to distribute 50 million ADA about every 6 months. There was no transparency into who was voting, what wallets were voting. And here on Internet Computer, one of the other reasons that I believe in Internet Computer Protocol is because you can actually see who is voting. What are the entities voting for? Right? What are the developers voting for? What are the whales voting for? What are the everyday users voting for? Because that gives me more insight into where I should be voting, especially when you're talking about proxy votes and, I would say high number of non-participation. I guess that's the way to say it, with undecided votes. And so the proposed action that they were voting on here was Dfinity was proposing to pause the Neurons Fund by a change to the NNS governance. A submission of a proposal requesting contributions from Neurons Fund would always fail. Such proposals couldn't even be created. SNS launched proposals without a Neurons Fund component could still be submitted as of this proposal being implemented. Now you may be saying, well, Cryptoviser, what in the F are you talking about? What is SNS and what is the Neurons Fund? Good questions. And what we try to do on this channel is answer those questions for our viewers, right? Because if you have those questions, probably other people have the question as well. Like, how does this work? What does this mean? Is this a good ecosystem? Is this an investable ecosystem? And part of that is just continually learning. So what is the SNS? It's a service nervous system, and it's a decentralized autonomous organization. So whenever you hear SNS or service nervous system in ICP's ecosystem, just think of DAO. That's exactly what it is. Service nervous system is DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. These allow developers to hand over their dApps to decentralized token-based governance systems. SNSs enable Web3 services to be owned and governed by their communities, evolving through proposals that respond to the desires, feedback, and voting of those communities themselves. Each SNS DAO has its own utility token that community members can stake to claim governance rights or to purchase services, and which can be used by the SNS to reward the community contributions. SNS DAOs allow developers around the world to raise funds for their projects, drive viral growth, and provide users with stake in the service, democratizing access to the tech economy. Now you can see here, this is where we get into what the Neuron Fund maturity actually is. Now, if we look into this little information chart, it says this chart shows the total available maturity of neurons in the Neurons Fund. The Neurons Fund allows the community to participate in SNS launches within the internet computer ecosystem. Neurons participating in the fund expose their maturity to risks taken by the fund. The maturity of Neurons Fund neurons decrease when participations are made and can increase later as a result of successful participations. Remember, effectively, neurons is your coins being staked in the ecosystem. Neurons Fund is for the service nervous system DAO. It gets a little bit complicated, but if you understand the basics, the technical language should not confuse you. So yeah, who voted for what? Who voted for what? Aren't you guys excited to look at this? I am. So you can see here that this proposal was executed, right? This was voted as yes, right? 75% of the people who voted said yes. But let's look at these votes. Votes of known neurons. We have Dfinity Foundation, which previously didn't vote. They voted yes. They voted yes to implement this. Now, this makes sense. They're the ones who proposed this change. So if they didn't vote yes, that would be quite interesting. ICP developers voted yes. Let's see. Accumulators Neuron voted yes. I mean, a lot of these big ones voted yes. The 8-Year Gang voted yes. Let's see if there's any other interesting ones, but you guys can see this. You can pause the video if you want to see. Very few no votes, almost no votes. So it seems like this was, generally speaking, a vote that needed to be voted through and voted as yes. And again, this goes back into internet computer, having the developer ecosystem so aligned in the future of internet computer, understanding where the ecosystem needs to go, what they need to develop. I mean, guys, think about it. The meme coins were on Solana. People who love Solana and hate Ethereum, by the way, they say, no, but Cryptoviser, there's meme coins on Ethereum as well. I'm like, there's other things on Ethereum also besides meme coins. On Solana, that's it. That is it. Internet computer, they didn't even get involved in the meme coins. Because this is an enterprise level blockchain ecosystem and not really made necessarily for payments. It's made for dApps that can basically transact in, when we're talking about AI and high power compute, this is the only blockchain out there that could potentially get to that point where they have decentralized storage, decentralized AI compute bandwidth, around the world. I mean, nodes are literally on every continent except Antarctica for Internet Computer. Many other blockchains that claim they're decentralized don't have this kind of decentralized node network as you see here with Internet Computer, or therefore the transaction throughput, which is very similar to Solana with the it's showing about 4,500 transactions per second, which is very similar to Solana's. We can also see here that a lot of the metrics are very in line with kind of what we expect to see from the Internet Computer. We are seeing the circulating supply and the total supply really maintaining. Obviously, circulating supply is increasing over time. This would obviously make sense because we're not at the fully, like, all the coins are not in circulation yet. So that's going to take some time, but there is a coin burn mechanism. You can see here, not that much burned, but you can see it's still increasing over time, but not by much, right? We can see, let's pull up the all, and let's look at right at the beginning of, it looks like September 2024, we started to see a lot more coin burning. Now, I don't know why the coin burning accelerated at this degree, but you guys know I like coin burning, so I'm kind of for it. Definitely kind of for it. So we can just see from the middle of last year, over the last 8 months, we went from 172,000 ICP total burned to 1.5 million coins burned, which is basically almost a 10x in just like, well, let's go to when it was 150. That was basically January, February of last year, 2024. So basically in 1 year, we doubled the amount of coins that were burned within the ICP ecosystem, which does make sense. As more usage of the network, more coins are being transacted, that you would see more coin burning. Same thing happens on Ethereum. Based on the metrics of the market, based on the metrics of the blockchain, this determines the burn speed. We can also see that smart contract deployment on Internet Computer is still very robust. 924,000 canisters or smart contracts are deployed on Internet Computer. Remember, I just did a video the other day. There is no way, there is no dashboard, there is no metric, there is no way to even find out how many smart contracts are deployed on Solana. I want you guys to think about that. The premier blockchain that everybody's pumping and all the billionaires love only created meme coins over the last few years. And you can't even know how many smart contracts are deployed on their ecosystem. When I was researching smart contracts recently, I was floored to find that out. Floored. Meanwhile, the data is right here for Internet Computer. And again, you could see a lot of acceleration of smart contract deployments on Internet Computer. From 2021, we were in the sub 50,000 smart contract range. And now we're almost at 1 million smart contracts deployed on the Internet Computer. We have seen quite a bit of acceleration basically from last year, around that same time that we were just talking about the total burned. We're seeing smart contract deployment from a year ago, basically more than doubling from 400,000 smart contracts to over 900 smart contracts deployed. So again, we want to see acceleration. We want to see growth. There's a lot of ecosystems that are out here that are actually, during this bull run, over the last few years, we're seeing decrease in smart contract deployment, in DeFi deployment, and all of that. But that's not what we're seeing in Internet Computer. We're seeing acceleration, and this is very positive for the trajectory of where the coin is going in ecosystem overall. Now, if we look at transaction throughput, you can see here that it's basically stable since 2021. Yes, there's been some growth, but it's fairly stable, which is good because we know the network is able to operate at this baseline. And this baseline is still fairly high, 4,500 transactions per second, and probably can go higher than that. What else? Finalization rate, right? How fast blocks are finalized. Again, if you look at Solana, there's a lot of failed transactions on Solana. This is also something that is not really talked about. And so, I mean, we can go to governance, we can go to Neurons. Neurons is, again, the staking mechanism. The total ICP that is locked for 8 years in the ecosystem is $795 million. And you guys can see on this chart here, I think you can see it. Every time I say you can see it, my logos block it, and then you can't see it. So let's remove the logos. Hold on. All right, so if you look here, you can see that the total number of ICP locked is 144 million for 8 years. And this is significantly larger than what we saw just at the beginning of 2022, where total locked was basically 100 million. So we went from 100 million to 144 million ICP locked for 8 years. This tells me that people believe in the ecosystem, people are putting their money where their mouth is and locking their coins in to earn rewards. I mean, 44% of the total supply of ICP is staked, locked in for a certain amount of time, right? They're earning rewards, they're helping secure the network, and they're participating in the overall ecosystem health and growth. Personally, I'm not into long-term staking and not having liquidity in your coins, but there's a lot of people who do. So yeah, there's that as well. And basically, again, all the other metrics on the network, I think, is way, way, way beyond what we're seeing in any other blockchain ecosystem out here. And so these are the reasons that I'm so bullish on Internet Computer, right? Because the community understands where the voting needs to go. We are not hearing that much pushback on these proposals, which means they are very streamlined proposals for the most needed changes in the ecosystem of Internet Computer. And I believe, based on what we're hearing from ICP's developers, we hear from Dominic, is that they're really focusing on this AI narrative. And I believe, based on what we're seeing, there's no other major blockchain out here that is doing AI the way that ICP is doing it, with the throughput that they have, with the network they already have of their nodes that can already operate this kind of stuff. And I believe they've been working on it the last year. If they haven't been, like, what the hell have they been doing? But I believe they've been working on this the last year. And I would anticipate, not a guarantee, but I would anticipate during the next leg up in the market, there's a very high potential that we're going to be hearing announcements from developers that are going to be talking about new releases or new launches for ICP. I don't think they're going to do it in a bear market or when the AI narrative in the traditional markets is not really super elevated. But if OpenAI goes public, which they are supposed to be as well, this could really change the game for anything AI and all the AI cryptos and blockchains as well, and drive their prices much, much higher. And so positioning is really where it needs to be. And I believe Internet Computer is well positioned for that. A lot of people are not happy with the price of ICP at the beginning of 2025. And I get it, guys. I get it. But typically, whenever you have massive downside swings, eventually you're going to have an upside swing. And it will be, hopefully, more percentages gained than percentages lost. And so in my view, Internet Computer is investable for my portfolio. Seeing how, and you could look at all these proposals. It's not just one proposal. There's a lot of different proposals that go on throughout the network. And you can see what the developers are trying to implement or try to remove from the code base, and really understand, like, is this ecosystem right for me? Now, some of this stuff you're not going to understand, which is totally fine, right? But the big moves, the big changes to the network is really what you want to understand, and understand why they're doing this. Why are they looking to change this, this piece of the ecosystem or this piece of the coding? Is this going to be a net positive for the ecosystem, or a net negative, or net neutral? And then base your, your decision on your research of that. And so in my view, you guys know, I'm a big Internet Computer bull. I think they're going to do well. Not financial advice. These are just my opinions. I obviously could be wrong. And some people would say most of the time I am wrong on this channel, even though I would not agree with that. But I'd appreciate if you guys give the video a free thumbs up. Also hit that subscribe button. I'll see you when I see you. Invest responsibly and crypto on.